Pearson Park is located in the heart of Anaheim. And in this park is a very large duck pond, but this duck pond is just empty and more filled with trash than actual water. And the ducks that used to inhabit this pond just sort of sit on the outside and look in on it. Now I've seen this pond for myself and it's just very depressing to look at. There's nothing special about it. At this point it's just a waste of space. And every single one of you can help easily contribute to bringing this park back to something better than it once was, to bring moments back to these families and the children who go to this park to see this pond and everything like that. Now, today I'm going to inform you about Proposition 65. I'm going to tell you about the origins of Proposition 65. I'm going to tell you about the current state of Proposition 65, and I'm going to tell you about how Proposition 65 is going to affect the environment. So let's start off with the origins of Proposition 65. So it started off as local bag bans in 151 counties and jurisdictions all across the United States, according to Ballotpedia, a sort of encyclopedia for propositions and ballots that has been cited in, that was published in 2016 and has been cited in many news outlets, such as the New York Times, and Publico. Now, San Francisco was the first city in the United States to adopt these bag banning policies back in 2008. And now the influence has spread so much so that now Los Angeles also includes these, the second largest city in the US. Kurt Oneto and Doyle L. Johnson, two law attorneys submit the Proposition 65 for review to the Attorney General's office in October of 2015. In order to become verified and be placed on the ballot, it would require 386,500 signatures. So by January of 2016, it had reached the 25% mark of the signatures required, and it was gaining traction very fast. So much so that in June of 2016, it had reached all the signatures required, and finally by July of 2016, it was given its official title and placed on the November ballot. So now that we've talked about the origins of Proposition 26, let's take a look at the Proposition 65. Let's take a look at the current state of Proposition 65. So a vote of yes on Proposition 65 is a vote in favor of placing a small fee on each plastic bag sold, thus removing the local bag bans all across the country. And money generated by this fee is going to be funneled directly into the Wildlife Conservation Board, which there it will be used in the environment. So research gained from an editorial in the San Jose Mercury News, a news outlet based out of San Francisco, I was able to see the conflicting relationship between Proposition 65 and another proposition that's going to be on the November ballot, Proposition 67. So Proposition 67 and what they want to do, what that proposition wants to do, is it wants to keep the bag bans in place, and if plastic bags must be used by the customer, there's going to be a small fee as well. But the money generated by this fee is going to go directly back into the profits of the store owners, sort of as a coverage for expenses. So far, support for Proposition 65 has generated $6.1 million, while the opposition has generated no money at all. So finally, let's move on to how Proposition 65 is going to affect the environment. So Proposition 65 has the potential to raise tens of millions of dollars in state revenue for the Wildlife Conservation Board. Now, after it gets to the Wildlife Conservation Board, it's going to be distributed to different organizations and groups all across the United States to help the environment. Now, these groups and organizations can use the money in mainly three different ways. They can choose to focus on the water, which basically means they're going to keep our drinking water up to state regulations and also make sure that our ponds, rivers, and lakes are clean and well kept as well. Or they can choose to focus on the recycling programs in the United States. Now they can focus on helping the recycling of bottles, cans, stuff like that, and also plastic bags as well, because eventually they do end up littered in the streets and parks as well. Or they can choose to focus on the maintaining and upkeep of the wildlife ecosystems and also our local, state, and regional parks all throughout the United States. Another thing set in place by Proposition 65 is sort of rules and relegations that make sure that no group or organization that the money is given to can use more than 5% of the money for administrative costs. This is important because this basically means that 95% of the money generated is going to directly affect the environment when it's being used by these groups. So today I've discussed with you about Proposition 65. I taught you about the origins of Proposition 65. I told you about the current state of Proposition 65. And I told you how Proposition 65 is going to affect the environment. So with the help of Proposition 65, that boring, sort of useless pond in that duck park can turn into this beautiful thing again. You can have those moments with those families when they bring their kids and they're breaking bread off of and giving it to the ducks. Thank you.